Greeting class, welcome to today's class. I'm Jacqueline and we are going to discuss about diffusion. In our previous class, we started looking at the cell physiology and we introduced the concept of cell physiology, the cell membrane, its properties and application in living organisms. Today we are going to discuss about the diffusion. And diffusion refers to the movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. In this process of diffusion, a substance tends to move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration until its concentration becomes equal through the space. Let's say, for example, someone opens a bottle of cleaning ammonia in the middle of a room. The ammonia molecules will initially be most concentrated right where the person opens the bottle, with a few or no molecules at the edge of the room. Gradually, the ammonia molecules will diffuse or spread away from the space where they were released, and eventually you will be able to smell ammonia at the edges of the room. Another example is where someone came into a classroom when he or she has applied a lot of perfume. Immediately when she enters into the classroom, the perfume, the smell of the perfume will be smelled by those sitting in front of the class. But after some time, the whole class will smell the same perfume. This means that immediately when the person enters at the door, the rate of smell of the perfume was very low at the back of the classroom. But after some time, it spread throughout the class. That's a process of diffusion. Let's now look at the process of diffusion in liquids. When we talk of the diffusion in liquids, we are talking about how substances diffuse in liquids, maybe for example water and something else. Let's now look at the potassium. If you take a beaker of water and place some potassium manganate 7 at a bottle, the purple color slowly spread out to fill the beaker. This is chemistry in action. The particles of potassium manganate 7 are diffusing out among the particles of water. It's the random motion of particles in a liquid that causes the purple color to eventually be evenly distributed throughout the water. Potassium manganate 7 solution can be diluted by adding water. If you were to add more water to the final solution, the potassium manganate 7 particles will spread even further apart and the solution will be less purple. This is called dilution. Let's now look at the diffusion in gases. Diffusion in gases is very fast because the density of the gas is very less compared to solid and liquid. Let's say, for example, when we light an incense stick in a corner of our classroom, it spreads in the whole room very quickly due to the diffusion of its smoke in the air. Diffusion in gases also is very fast because as the air moves, the particles of the gas and the particle of air will collide. In this collision, there will be random movements of molecules in the room. For example, earlier we talked about the diffusion of ammonia. The ammonia molecule will collide with the air molecule very fast. The molecule will collide, making them to move in a random motion. Let's now look at the factors that affect the rate of diffusion. Diffusion is faster in gases than in liquids. These factors include the concentration gradient, membrane permeability, temperature, surface area. All these factors affect the rate of diffusion. Let's now look at the concentration gradient. Concentration gradient is the term used to describe the differential in concentration. For example, we can say the liquid is highly concentrated, the liquid is slowly concentrated. If there is a concentration gradient, particle will migrate down it from a concentration to a low concentration. For example, let's take the example of ammonia. Let's take an example of potassium manganate 7. If we replace a tablespoon of potassium permanganate 7 in water, the starting point where we place the potassium is in high concentration. And like at the end of the experiment, the whole potassium will have diffused throughout the water. That means the potassium will be lowly concentrated at its points of origin. This means that the higher the concentration of the solid, for example, or the gas, the higher the rate of diffusion. Let's look at the temperature. The higher the temperature, the more quickly the rate of diffusion increases. In the state of matter, diffusion in gas molecule is significantly faster than diffusion in liquids molecule. Diffusion happens not just across various regions, but also between membrane, between the exterior and the inside of the cell, between different organelles. The higher the temperature, the higher the rate of diffusion. For example, in the morning, when the temperatures are very low, the rate of diffusion will be low. During the afternoon hours, when the temperatures are high, the rate of diffusion will be high. Let's take an example of a student coming into class in the morning. When he or she has applied the perfume, immediately she enters the class in the morning, the rates of actually the diffusion of the perfume will be slower compared to afternoon. In the morning it may take around 20 minutes to diffuse throughout the whole class, but in the afternoon the rate of time will decrease. Why? Because the temperatures are high. The perfume will only take up to 5 minutes to diffuse throughout the whole class. Membrane permeability. The membrane permeability of membrane has an effect on the pace at which the molecule diffuse through it. With an increase in membrane permeability, there is an increase in the rate of diffusion. Surface area. When it comes to surface area, the greater the surface area, the higher the rate of diffusion. The greater the size of the sphere on animal, the less the surface it has for diffusion to occur. An increased rate of diffusion can be observed in the cells with a large amount of surface area. Portion in the smaller portion is a good approach to enhance the surface area of a dish. In this surface area, we can simply summarize by saying the larger the surface area, the higher the rate of diffusion, or the higher the surface area, the higher the rate of diffusion. Well, when the surface area is small, the rate of diffusion will decrease. Let's now look at the importance of diffusion in living organisms. 1. Diffusion helps in gaseous exchange during the respiration and helps in the removal of carbon dioxide and intake of oxygen. This occurs in animals, for example. When we inhale oxygen, it will diffuse from our lungs to the alveolus, while the carbon dioxide will diffuse out of the alveolus to the lungs, where it will be respired out of the cells. This diffusion is greatly important in our bodies, since through the process of diffusion, we can take in oxygen and remove out the carbon dioxide. This is how the process of diffusion is important in our own bodies. Another important is that diffusion helps in intake of gases during photosynthesis in plants. During photosynthesis, it helps in the intake of carbon dioxide through the stomata of the leaves along the concentration gradient. We all know that during photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide and respire out the oxygen. Unlike in human beings, we do take in the oxygen and respire carbon dioxide. In the plants, a different case where the plants take in carbon dioxide through the stomata of the leaves along the concentration gradient. How does this occur? It occurs through the process of diffusion, whereby the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere will diffuse directly through the stomata of the leaves along their concentration gradient. Here the process of the surface area of the light surface area came in, because the larger the surface area of the leaf, the faster the rate of diffusion at which the carbon dioxide will diffuse through the stomata into the leaves. Another example is loss of water by leaves occurs through the process of diffusion, and the process of water loss in form of water vapor is known as the transpiration. Transpiration is the process by which plants lose their own water. This process occurs through the process of diffusion, as the water inside the leaves of the plants will diffuse out through maybe by use of lenticels, use of what? Lenticels, their barks, the cuticle into the atmosphere. The small openings in the plants, which are the stomata, will allow the passage of water from the leaf into the atmosphere through the process of diffusion. Another important role of diffusion in living organisms is diffusion also helps in the spread of molecules such as iron through the protoplasm of the cells. In our cells, we all have all the ions which are taken up from the which diffuse from the bloodstream to our own bodies. This occurs during the process through the process of diffusion. The importance of diffusion in plant cells include the process of respiration, transpiration, the aroma of the flowers due to the diffusion of aromatic compounds to the attracts insects. Diffusion also is responsible for spreading the ions and molecules throughout the protoplasm. It is also responsible in the process by keeping the walls of the intestinal tissues of the plant moist. The food material also are absorbed by the plants through the process of diffusion. Let's now look at the process of diffusion and its important roles in plant cells, animal cells. This is the end of our presentation. This is the end of our discussion. And now I welcome any questions if there are any. You raise up your hand, you raise the question, thereafter you will do some assignments. Any question? Okay, there are no questions. If you have no any question, I'll post my own question. Now write all these questions, then you will answer before our next class. Question 1. What is diffusion? What is diffusion? Question 2. Question 2. Say 3 importance of diffusion in living organisms. State 3 importance of diffusion in living organisms. Importance are the same as roles. Question 3. Discuss the following factors. How it influences the rate of diffusion. 1. Surface area. 2. Concentration gradient. 3. Temperature. 3. Temperature. And the fourth one, pressure. Let's now just summarize the process of diffusion. Then during our next class, we will go to lab. We demonstrate the process of diffusion. An overview of the process of diffusion. We started our class by introducing the term diffusion, on which we say diffusion is the movement of molecule from a region of high concentration to the region of low concentration. We go ahead and give an example of diffusion, where we give an example of ammonia. When one opens a bottle at the one corner of the classroom, the rate of ammonia will be high at the point where the person opens the bottle of the ammonia. Then after some time, it will diffuse through the whole class, and the whole class will smell the smell of the ammonia. We also discuss about the perfume. When we say immediately the person enters at the door, the rate at which the one at the door will smell the perfume will be high. Then eventually the whole class will smell the perfume. That means that the smell of the perfume must diffuse throughout the class. Another example, we end up discussing the rates of diffusion in liquids, whereby we discuss about the potassium permanganate 7 when it's placed in a glass jar containing water. At one point, at the same time, after some time, the whole water in the glass will become purple. That means that the potassium has already diffused from the point where it was placed throughout the water in glass, hence the water will turn purple. We also discuss about the rates of diffusion in gases, where we say that diffusion in gases is higher compared to diffusion in solid and liquids. And we also say that as the molecules diffuse in air, the molecules of the gas and the gaseous molecule and the air molecule will collide, causing them to move in a random motion. This will cause the faster diffusion. We also look at the factors that affect the rate of diffusion, where we discuss about the surface area, and we say that the higher the surface area, the higher the rate of diffusion, and the smaller the surface area, the lower the rate of diffusion. We also discuss about the temperature, where we say that the high temperatures will result to high rates of diffusion, and the lower temperatures will result to the lower rate of diffusion. And we give an example of a student coming to a class in the morning when he has used perfumed, and you say that when a class enters in the class in the morning, the rate of diffusion will be slower because the temperatures are low compared to students who come in the class in the afternoon. The rate of perfume will spread very fast in the afternoon because the temperatures are very high. We also look at the concentration gradient, and we say the higher the concentration gradient, the higher the rate of diffusion, or the faster the rate of diffusion, and the lower the concentration gradient, the slower the rate of diffusion will occur. We also discuss about the membrane permeability as a factor that affects the rate of diffusion, where we say that with an increase in membrane permeability, there's an increase in the rate of diffusion. There will be an increase in the rate of diffusion. Membrane permeability is a state where the membrane is able to allow the movement of particles in and out of the cells. Sometimes the membrane are semi-permeable, which means they allow the movement of material in and out of the cells. But let's take a case where the membrane of the cell is not permeable. This means that the rate of diffusion will be slow. It will diffuse slowly due to the impermeability of the cells. But in a case where the permeability of cell is high, the rate of diffusion will be high because the cells will diffuse, the gases will diffuse, the ions will diffuse in and out of the cell faster. We also look at the roles of diffusion in living organisms, where we say in plants, the rate of diffusion will occur when the plants will be taking out the process of photosynthesis, where the carbon dioxide will diffuse through the stomata into the leaves, and the oxygen will diffuse out of the cell through the same stomata. This all occurs through the process of diffusion. We also talk about the respiration, where we said for the process of respiration to occur, the diffusion will be responsible for it, where the water molecules inside the cell will diffuse out of the leaf through the lenticels, through the stomata, into the atmosphere. We also talked about the important role of diffusion in animal cells, where we talk about also the process of respiration, where the oxygen will be taken into the lungs, into the alveolus through the process of diffusion, and the carbon dioxide will be taken out of the lung through the process of diffusion. Also, all these gases will also diffuse in the various bodies through the process of diffusion. After the digestion of our food, then in the small intestine and absorption of the food in the large intestines, the essential material will diffuse from our small intestine through the membranes of this permeable membranes of the small intestine into our bloodstream, whereby they will be taken into their respective body parts through the process of diffusion. Also, water and mineral salts diffuse from our large intestines into the bloodstream, where eventually they will be taken into various body parts for their functions. This marks the end of our class. Now, during our next class on Friday, we'll go to lab and make sure I answer the questions I've posted before. When at the lab, I will check. On Friday, during the class time, it will be a double lesson. Come following all the laboratory rules. This is where we will go to demonstrate the process of respiration, and I'll provide all the requirements that will be required before we enter the laboratory. There we will go and look at how potassium, we'll go and carry out the process of diffusion, how the potassium permanganate 7 diffuse in water, and all those processes. Now, being there is no question, let's meet on our next class let's meet at our lab during the class time. Have a good day.